Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and happy Friday. I'm your friendly neighborhood PM here to give you your top 3 market points of the week, as always. Now, we've had quite a bit of news this week, some of which occurred overnight. So without further ado, let's dive right in. And at point number 3, it did occur overnight. It was Boeing factory workers voting nearly unanimously to reject a contract offer from the company and go on strike. Now, the factory workers voted 96% in favor of a strike, and their union represents 33,000 workers. In addition to this is the first time in 16 years that Boeing factory workers have gone on strike in a push to get better pay and better benefits. Now, this continues to compound snags that the company has faced over the past year or so. As many as you probably already know, they had the door blow off the plane earlier this year. In addition to that, this is going to further compound snags production-wise on them delivering planes to airlines, as well as their suppliers getting parts to them to construct the planes. Now, we have no idea how long that this labor dispute is going to last, but we're going to keep you updated on the video anytime we get an update. At point number 2, it was Adobe reporting earnings yesterday. Now, they did have a strong third quarter, beating on revenue and earnings, but it was their forward guidance for Q4 that led to weakness in the stock as we saw it sell off roughly 8% after hours. Now, the stock fell because of this weaker guidance, and this weaker guidance was the result of them lowering expectations on their forward-looking digital media net recurring revenues. Now, that sounds like a lot of word salad, and essentially what that means is they're not expecting AI to produce as much revenue inflow in the upcoming quarter, much to the dismay of many investors. Now, Adobe has been using their new Firefly software to incorporate AI, but many are continuing to question where all the spending for AI is going to turn into revenues and profits. So anytime that a company lowers forecasts like that, especially occurring during this whole AI trend, it's going to get hit quite seriously, as we saw yesterday after hours. And then finally, point number 1, you probably could guess by this point, it's inflation. So we saw CPI headline data come down to 2.5% year over year, down from 2.9 the month before. But on the flip side of that, we did see core slightly increase month over month, plus 0.3 versus expectations of 0.2. Now, we still are seeing sizable moderation in inflation, but this past month we did get a little hung up on shelter and rent. That's a huge component of the inflation index, so that one's always going to be a little bit more sticky. Obviously, rent prices don't fluctuate too much and don't rise and fall nearly as volatile as other goods and services. Now, what this really did was cause a lot of the market to peel back their bets on rate cuts. Many were starting to try to factor in a 50 basis point cut at the upcoming meeting, but we're starting to see more and more leaning into a 25 basis point cut. That's where we're seeing futures pointing to at this moment. Now, the Fed has been very clear that they are monitoring weakness in the labor market. So with that in mind, we don't expect them to pause on rate cuts. We still expect a rate cut to happen, but we're leaning towards a 25 basis point cut. Now, that does it for this week. And what are we looking to for next week? Well, funny enough, what we're looking to for next week is the Fed meeting next week, where they're going to decide, is it going to be 50 points? Is it going to be 25 points? Or is it going to be nothing? Once again, like we just said, we're leaning towards 25 basis points, but we're going to update you next week once we get that data as well. And we'll keep you posted here just like we always do. Now, that does it for this week's video. As always, if you have additional questions, please reach out to your financial advisor or dig into the written week in review. And as always, please enjoy your weekend. We'll see you the same time next week. Thanks. Bye.